At Chris Kehler Holistic, we demonstrate real healing and real caring to your health issues and needs. Our solution for you is an alternative to the alternative. Our out-of-the-box treatment methods are aimed to your specific well-being and are quite different than most. Venturing down the realm of quantum energy healing, Chris uses unique modalities of healing, such as spiritual intervention with pendulum dowsing, sacred geometry tools such as the neutralization, divinity, and sun ring. Another tool Chris uses is a 5-tiered pyramid affectionately known as the Silver Light Pyramid to activate quantum activity within the body. Also, Chris Kehler Holistic uses radionic technologies in various platforms with specific liquid mineral ionics to balance out excesses and deficiencies within the body. At Chris Kehler Holistic, our goal is to get tangible and measurable results in the least amount of time possible so you can carry on with what's important in your life. Another advantage to this unique energy healing is it can be done at a distance healing session. So location is not a barrier and can be done conveniently at your home, office, just about anywhere through Skype or telephone conferencing. Eliminate costly protocols, expensive monthly supplements, high-priced allopathic operations, invasive surgeries, and dubious medication applications that keep you trapped in a financial and health rat race. Get a specific, customized, out-of-the-box solution tailored for your health recovery. At Chris Kehler Holistic, we are warm welcoming and want to put you at ease with your visit to us. Please visit www.chriskehler.net for further information as we welcome your questions and inquiries to starting this unique journey. At Chris Kehler Holistic, we want to show you that we are the alternative to the alternative and the out-of-the-box solution to customize an answer for you to spend less and gain more in your high vibrancy journey. Visit www.chriskehler.net. Real healing and real caring to your health needs.
Oh yeah, let me introduce to everyone, Chris Kehler.
Welcome to A Quantum View. I am Chris Kehler. Here we are tonight. We have a special guest we're going to get to right away. We're going to be talking about the health benefits of magnesium. A lot of people hear me talking about the whole concept of reptilians and Dracos and how they run our lives. And a lot of people hear David Icke, David Wilcock, the Queen of England is a reptilian. This person is a reptilian. So one of the things I keep talking about is within my work, I remove these energies. Anybody who's got illness, things going on in their lives, quite often there is a reptilian involved of some way, shape, or form. Now, I keep on talking about the ascension process of how we're going to disconnect from these reptilians and become sovereign within ourselves. The state of duality that we live in is living within a reptilian and a human form. I keep on talking about that this is all coming to an end. And a lot of people are saying, well, come on, Chris, when is it coming to an end? Look at all the bad stuff going on the planet, and look what's happening. We need something to say that these things are on their way out. And I got 2 words to say to that. Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein. He got pulled out on the rug and said, okay, you reptilian, you're out of here. They fired him from his own company. What he's doing with all of his sexual exploits, he's exhibiting reptilian types of traits. Anybody who's very much confrontive, argumentative, bullheaded, very, very strong sexual nature like that, people who abuse people sexually and exploit them, these are all what we call reptilian traits. So here's somebody who's been brought into the forefront, embarrassed to no end, and we were pointing our finger at him saying, you reptilian, you're out of here. So right there and then, when I first saw that on the news, that his company fired him, he's the founder of his own company, he got fired from it, that said to me, okay, here is, let's say, one of the instances, one of the first thing that's going to happen. people are going to start being pulled up and embarrassed and shown that this person of high profile is reptilian. He is out of here. He's been exposed. So Harvey Weinstein, you're exposed. And that's all I got to say about that.
Whoa. That's, yeah. Well, don't forget his wife left him too.
His wife left him. I mean, How embarrassing is that? So to me, that is the start of the process of all these reptilians being shown what's going on. I'm finding them left, right, and center with the people I'm working with, and we're getting rid of them at a very, very high rate. And it's making changes. It's making differences within people. All of the David Wilcox talking about reptilians, everybody talking about them. What I do is I talk about them and I show results with removing them. That's where we go the extra mile here, is by removing these SOBs, a change happens within a person. They feel the energy lift and leave. They feel better. Now, on tonight's show, Dr. Carolyn Dean. We're going to be talking about the benefits of magnesium. Dr. Carolyn Dean is a medical doctor and naturopathic doctor. She is the author of 110 Kindle books and 35 health books. She's on the medical advisory board of the non-profit educational site Nutritional Magnesium Association. Her magnesium outreach has won her an award from the Heart Rhythm Society in the UK for outstanding medical contribution to cardiac rhythm management, 2012. Dr. Dean has a free online newsletter, a valuable online 2-year wellness program called Complement Now, and a 2-hour radio call-in show at www.achieverradio.com, Mondays at 4 p.m. Pacific. To find out more about Dr. Carolyn Dean, her website is www.drcarolyndean.com. Everybody, please welcome to A Quantum View, Dr. Carolyn Dean.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Bob. Thanks a lot.
How
you can
doing?
call me Carolyn, but you probably didn't know that one of my favorite books that I've written is called Death by Modern Medicine.
It is.
And I'm in the middle of writing a blog called Modern Medicine is like the Harvey Weinstein elephant under the rug. So I am right up there with you because we have such a huge problem with modern medicine that it is killing people and a lot of people are suffering. So I totally agree with you. I've read and, heard about the reptilians. I agree that people have these negative energies. Absolutely. And what's interesting, how I bring it around to my work and magnesium in particular is that, and it'll be interesting as time goes on for you to explore this with me, Chris, that when people are treated energetically, if they don't have their electrolytes in balance, if they're dehydrated, and especially if they don't have enough magnesium, they don't get well as fast. They do much better when they're hydrated, they have their magnesium, and they have their other minerals. So that's how I'll start off with you.
You and I are both in the, let's say, the alternative form of healthcare. My alternative form is much more alternative than anybody else's, I'd have to say. But we do go into the whole realm of nutrition, of nutrients, and how different things that are happening in your body can leach out all of these vital nutrients. The medical system nowadays, all of the pharmaceuticals, that's what they do, is they tend to bind to a lot of the nutrients that we need, and all of a sudden we're depleted. You can eat all the good food you want, but if you have something in your body that's leaching and binding to all of the nutrients, and that's where they're going to go, is into the toilet.
Right. And the specifics on that I've looked into in terms of the medications, in order to make medications as strong as possible to allow them to dissolve in fats and cross over cell membranes, they started adding fluoride to the drugs quite a while ago. And most of the common drugs have fluoride attached. And why that's important is because fluoride will bind to magnesium. It's also it's very poisonous on its own, but in terms of magnesium, it binds to magnesium, makes it into a compound called magnesium fluoride, which is very brittle, which will deposit itself in bones and tendons and cartilage. And one of the side effects of some of these fluoroquinolone drugs is tendon rupture. So I've been saying for a long time that, well, who's to say this Cipro fluoride antibiotic you're taking, and then all of a sudden you get a tendon rupture? Who's to say that isn't the fluoride breaking down because of the intestinal flora breaking down drugs? That's what they do. And then this fluoride molecule binds with magnesium, and you start getting all kinds of side effects. And you lose the ability of magnesium to help your body with about 700 different enzyme functions. So you're definitely correct. And then in terms of entities and negative energy, that just puts so much stress on your body. You're constantly stressed and strained, and that burns off magnesium as well.
I'm not a trained medical person, but you find some really good sites that have a ton of information. The one I like to use is called naturalhealthtechniques.com, and it's got every nutrient in the book, and it has signs of deficiency listed on this website. Here are magnesium deficiency symptoms: fatigue, abnormal heart rhythms, mental confusion, muscle weakness and spasm, depression, heart disturbances, insomnia, irritability, loss of appetite, listlessness or weakness, muscle cramps, predisposition to stress, problems in nerve conduction and muscle contraction. Now, it goes further, and here is what they use magnesium for, and it's a big list. ADD, ADHD, alcohol withdrawal support, anxiety, asthma, athletic performance, autism, celiac, congestive heart failure, chronic fatigue, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD, diabetes, fibromyalgia, glaucoma, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, hypoglycemia, migraine headaches, mitral valve prolapses, multiple sclerosis, osteoporosis, premenstrual syndrome, Raynaud's disease, and retinopathy. Okay?
Well, they left out acid reflux, adrenal fatigue, Alzheimer's, angina, anxiety panic attacks, asthma, blood clots, brain dysfunction, teeth grinding, cholesterol elevation. I have 65 diseases listed in my current edition of Magnesium Miracle. But see, herein lies the problem, Chris, because I have a dietary supplement company now. I had to create one to create a non-laxative magnesium. Okay. And the July 3rd, the FDA sent me a warning letter that I was remiss in talking about magnesium as if it could cure a disease. And their definition of disease is that it's something that only drugs can treat, not even cure, because we know they don't cure. So because, and this is all in the letter, because I was saying that magnesium could be involved in these 65 diseases, they said that I was making magnesium a drug. And since now I made magnesium a drug, I would have to do the $1 billion clinical trials to prove that it was effective. So this is where the hamstringing of doctors, dietary supplement companies, I don't know how hamstrung you are about this. I don't think too much. But, this is where the public is never going to get the information from the medical establishment because they don't think that nutrients are helpful in treating disease. Even more, they're told that they're not allowed to talk about nutrients treating disease.
Well, that would cure the disease then, right? And then there goes their billion-dollar ticket out the window by creating all these pharmaceuticals.
I know. It's incredible how, the FDA, they're a non-medical body, and all of a sudden they're telling everybody what's a disease and what's not a disease. And if you use magnesium to treat disease symptoms, then, you're breaking the law, basically. So what I do is I talk about the magnesium deficiency symptoms that you can take magnesium for. And if some doctor, who doesn't know what they're doing is misdiagnosing a magnesium deficiency as a disease, that's not my fault.
Well, exactly. Up in Canada, what we're told to do is to say this may be caused by magnesium deficiency. Magnesium may help you with this. So you got to stay kind of gray about it. But what I like about the work that I'm doing, I got started in this whole industry, let's call it, muscle testing people for what herbs they might need or what might help them. And what I found was I got closer and closer to the whole energy realm of things, moving energy. So I double dare anybody from the FDA, from whatever Canada source it is, to come and tell me that saying a prayer over somebody is not going to cure somebody. Go ahead and try it. It's not going to work. So I put myself in a very safe boat by not suggesting supplements or herbs to people. We just do the energy work, and I leave everything else to you wonderful naturopaths to take care of that.
Yeah, but we're in a situation too with supplements. I don't know about up in Canada. I'm a Canadian myself, but I live in Hawaii. But there are about 55,000 supplements in America presently. So it is such a huge business that now the supplement industry being, in the billions, getting to the trillions of dollars probably, that, the drug companies are looking at supplements and they do want to control them. And at the same time, there's a lot of hype and promotion of supplements. And a lot of people, they get scared and, they'll read a health website and it'll say, oh, you have to have this, that, and the other thing. So people, instead of looking at their diet and their lifestyle and their energy, they're looking at supplements almost as if they're a drug in order to treat what they're not getting from their diet.
That's kind of where our brainwash mentality lies, is for everything you have to take a pill.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're not taking a pill, then you're never going to get cured. Now, I'd rather take a supplement than take a pharmaceutical. I have many, many clients, thousands of clients I work with all over the world. And one thing I do see a lot of is people who are going every day to...
Hello. Hello. Guys? For some reason, no why, everybody just dropped right out. So let me get them back. All right. See, there you go. Chris is here somewhere.
Are we back?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was definitely Skype, but definitely just, I don't know, your end just went.
Well, here we are. We're back.
Yeah, you're here.
Now, what we were talking about, I don't know where we got cut off, if anybody could still hear us, but what we're talking about is the world of supplements. What I see, sometimes people will just self-medicate themselves with supplements. Go to that health food store and try something new, try something different. And then the bodies become too alkaline. So your stomach acidity goes away. Your body can't digest food properly anymore. And now you start to exhibit other symptoms because of alkalosis.
Yeah, well, Chris, my favorite example is once when I was doing telephone consultations, a client told me that she was taking 300 to 500 separate tablets and pills from her nutritionist every day. 300 to 500. She counted them up. I said, I don't believe you. Send me the list. And it was just horrendous. And what did she have? Yeah, digestive problems. Yeah. And, yeah, it's like too much of a so-called good thing. And the way I work, I say to people, look, if you're taking something and it doesn't help you in, heaven forbid, a maximum of 3 months, you just have to get rid of it. Otherwise, you just keep adding things. It's like you're buying the words that are said, the script of these supplements. You're buying them out of fear. And it's the same expression of what medical doctors do when they try to force you to take their drugs and surgery. They do it out of fear.
Oh, exactly. And fear is what drives us for everything. If fear is an amazing tool, you want to get somebody to do something for you, put fear into them, and all of a sudden they'll light a fire. Now, you see a lot of clients, correct?
Well, right now it's just customers because I have a dietary supplement company. So I stopped talking to clients on the phone as soon as I realized that I could say to every one of them, well, just take my products and you'll be fine. So I trained my customer service just to educate people. It's basically educating them to take care of themselves and be responsible for their health, etc. I'm not going to pat people on the head and say, I'll take care of you, because that's what gets people into their problems in the first place, is they've given themselves over to their doctor.
Now, do you see people coming in with trying all this, trying that, and all different types of things, and then get them on the magnesium and do things start to straighten out?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it was surprising to me how effective magnesium can be. But I mean, we've gone over some of the disease symptoms or the conditions, but the fact of the matter is magnesium does so much in the body. It functions, as I said, in 700 to 800 enzyme systems. It catalyzes most of the chemical reactions in the body. It helps synthesize proteins, stabilizes RNA and DNA, transmits nerve signals, relaxes muscles, whereas calcium contracts muscles. And magnesium also produces and transports energy called ATP, yet your doctor thinks it's just a laxative. So, we've got a real uphill battle trying to express and explain to people that the soil is depleted of magnesium. You really can't get it all in your diet anymore. You do have to supplement. So, that's what I've been educating people about for, since the late 90s when I first started writing my Magnesium Miracle book.
One of the concepts I hear a lot about is that topical magnesium is much more beneficial than oral magnesium.
Right. That came about because most of the magnesiums on the market back, 5 years ago were laxative. They weren't fully absorbed. The one that most of the research was done on, magnesium oxide, is only 4% absorbed. Now, it still worked quite well for various conditions. Everything it was tested against, it helped people. But in a great number of people calls the laxative effect. When I developed heart palpitations and leg cramps, right around the time that Random House asked me to write this book, The Magnesium Miracle, I got the laxative effect from even one pill of magnesium. So yeah, I was all into the magnesium oil, putting it on transdermally. And I kept trying to get a mineral company, magnesium company, to make a non-laxative magnesium, but they said it's too expensive, requires too much education. And that's where I finally created a non-laxative magnesium called Remag, and I've been selling it for 5 years. And it was only then, Chris, where people can get really saturated with magnesium, did I see how they could lose their 100 different magnesium deficiency symptoms, and how they could be treating their atrial fibrillation caused by magnesium deficiency with drugs, and then start saturating with magnesium and wean off their drugs. So, that, full circle back to, this is why the medical establishment is not too keen on what I'm doing, because we've been treating so many disease conditions with drugs, and it'll put the drug companies out of business if everybody becomes saturated with magnesium.
And we all know those drug companies are run by the reptilians, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Bob, you got a question for us? The chat room is saying this is a dangerous topic.
That's why I'm living in Maui, where where the guns aren't so prevalent.
But they can throw you in a volcano, can they?
Yeah, but she also added to it. She said, "What is the best form of magnesium in fluids, and what depletes, or what is caused? What causes the depletion of magnesium?"
Well, the depletion, Bob, is you don't get it in your diet anymore. 100 years ago, you could get 500 milligrams of magnesium. Now you're lucky if you get 200. And you really need about 500-600 a day.
Oy.
And then the things that burn it off are even cooking food with magnesium in it. You can lose the magnesium. Then when you're under stress, athletes get very magnesium deficient because they sweat it out. And instead of replacing with magnesium drinks, they replace it with something like Gatorade, which has, cups of sugar in it. So all these athletes, they're getting magnesium deficient and getting diabetic because of all the sugar from Gatorade. And I've had NFL, NHL athletes call me and say, well, I'm developing all these anxiety attacks and heart palpitations, and the doctors are just giving me drugs. And you will never, it must be in their contract where they have to follow what their doctors say, because, most of them just keep on taking the drugs.
Here's another one. What foods are good to get or to receive magnesium from?
Well, that's, you heard me say that it's not in the soil anymore. Even if the food is organic, it doesn't mean your farmer is putting rock dust into the soil to allow the plants to take it up. But even so, seaweed is high in magnesium because there's 3 times the level of magnesium in seawater than there is calcium, because the magnesium and calcium are also kind of fighting each other. Cacao, the raw chocolate is high in magnesium. That's why women crave chocolate before their periods. Deep green leafy vegetables, if it's in the soil. I've had clients and customers come to me who've been on raw food diets, 40 ounces of green drink a day. They're doing it all right. They think they should have all the minerals in the world, and they're having heart palpitations and leg cramps. They take magnesium and they get better. And in terms of the other question, Bob, about what forms, I've mentioned my form, Remag. I won't go on about it because this is not a commercial, but mine is a liquid 100% absorbed magnesium, only available online. Other forms, there are the transdermal forms, but I did make a transdermal one because I found most of the transdermal forms are very itchy and irritating, and they caused in me skin rashes when I applied them constantly. Most of the forms are either 4 to 20% absorbed. So, what happens with a lot of people is they'll get only so far with their magnesium saturation, and then they'll get the laxative effect and think, well, I must have enough. And that's not true.
Here's one for the people that are, well, it was my original question that I was going to ask you. Us seniors, okay?
You mean me and you?
Me and you.
Not me.
No,
Not me at all.
I knew.
I know, not Chris.
I knew he was going to bail over the fence quick. But but the idea with this is us seniors. Now, I happen to be one of these people who I don't sound my age at all. I don't look my age at all. I don't even act my age at all. So, it's one of those crazy things. But, when either you run or you walk a lot, I do all the above, and I do probably stupider things than that. And I get at night the cramps. You get the cramps in your calves and things. You could be sleeping and wake up in the middle of the night with your leg wrapped around your neck. Mm-hmm. One of those things.
Charlie horses.
Right.
Charlie horses.
Oh, they're Charlies, all right. Charlie all over the place. But CalMag is what I take. They're 500s.
Right. Well, that's the thing is the magnesium is what you want. The calcium part of it, not so much.
Really?
What happens with magnesium and calcium? Magnesium relaxes muscles and calcium tightens muscles. So they have this, you want to walk, you want to tighten your muscle, and then you want to release the muscle. So they have this synergy. But what we've done in our societies, we've calcified our bodies. We eat a lot of dairy. We fortify foods with calcium. We take way too much vitamin D, which pulls calcium into the body. And we don't take any magnesium. So we create this imbalance where we are calcifying, we're getting heel spurs, kidney stones, gallstones, fibromyalgia. In women, you're getting breast tissue calcifications. And a dozen studies in the past dozen years have shown that women who simply take calcium supplements are susceptible to a higher rate of heart disease because the calcium precipitates into the arteries, kind of around little daubs of cholesterol that are trying to heal arteries. The problem with heart disease is not cholesterol. It really is calcium and a lack of magnesium. If you think of me saying magnesium relaxes muscles, well, the heart is one big muscle. And if your heart goes into a magnesium deficiency, calcium excess spasm, that's angina or a heart attack.
Just like a Charlie horse in your calf muscle, the same thing can happen to your heart. You mentioned about calcium, and that is one thing I do find a lot of within people, especially with high blood pressure, heart problems, this and that, is the calcification. So would you go out on a limb and say that magnesium is the one most beneficial nutrient that if we're going to supplement anything, it should be magnesium?
Absolutely, without question. And about the whole calcium business, we can probably get enough calcium in our diet. If we eat dairy products, even if we're lactose intolerant, you can go for kefir or yogurt where the lactose is fermented out. You can do bone broth, make your own. You can do deep green leafy vegetables. Calcium is there to a much greater extent than magnesium. And in terms of how much to take, I'm going with the UK and the UN RDAs, or recommended daily allowances of 600 milligrams of calcium rather than the 1,200, 1,500 we're told to take. Because what happens with most calciums, they're only about 4% absorbed. And the other 96% is precipitating in your body, doing all kinds of things that it shouldn't do. And the opposite of that is magnesium. It causes a laxative effect. So it's the fail-safe of magnesium where, you could take too much and then you'll dump it. And that's not too pleasant for people who want to be taking it for health, but you're not going to build it up. And, even when medicine is now doing these coronary artery calcium scores, they're measuring the amount of calcium in the walls of the arteries, the coronary arteries, or, the aorta, etc. And they're starting to say, oh gosh, this is the problem, but they don't have any drugs for it. But what magnesium does is dissolve calcium in places where it shouldn't be and directs it to the bones and teeth and places where it should be.
I was listing some of the problems caused by low magnesium, and one of them was Raynaud's.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that is something that is, for a lot of people, is a bit of an enigma. So Raynaud's is when all of a sudden the veins and arteries close up within your hands and your extremities, and they go white and they get very, very cold. Now, my late wife, she had a rare disease called scleroderma. It was full-blown scleroderma, and her hands would go white, and she'd have to run them under hot water to get some heat back into them. What is happening here between calcium and magnesium?
Well, in Raynaud's, they talk about the spasming of the capillaries especially in the hands. And when you hear anything like spasms or anything that might affect nerves and muscles, you do have to think of magnesium deficiency. So the spasming of those little blood vessels that shuts them down, that shuts down your circulation and makes your extremities cold, can be caused by magnesium deficiency. And in my Magnesium Miracle book, I have a small section on Raynaud's that magnesium helps relax the spastic blood vessels that cause pain and numbness of the fingers. And in terms of hypertension, as you mentioned earlier, all the blood vessels in the body, they have smooth muscles that surround them, that create the sort of elasticness of blood vessels. If those smooth muscles don't have enough magnesium, they will go into spasm and they will cause high blood pressure. So that's one of the major causes of high blood pressure.
There is a muscular system within and around the veins and arteries.
Right. Right.
Ergo, the calcium pumps are so full of calcium that they can't release that calcium built up and they go into spasm.
Right. The way the cells work is magnesium itself opens the door, the ion channels to allow calcium in to do its action, and then magnesium pulls the calcium back out. If there's not enough magnesium, that the calcium just keeps building up, and then you've got this, whatever symptom the calcium is going to cause in whatever part of the body. And Bob was asking about, folks, senior folks, what?
Oh yeah.
Give us a scenario about that. Well, you've had a major stress, heaven forbid someone's died or divorced or gotten ill. You go to your doctor for your annual and your blood pressure's elevated because you're stressed out. And the nurse practitioner says, oh, yeah, Bob, it's been like this a couple times. I think it's time that you went on a diuretic for your blood pressure. It's only going to get worse.
Oh, boy. So
you are shocked and you say, oh, my gosh. So you take the drug and you actually feel worse because if your blood pressure is caused by magnesium deficiency, the diuretic is going to pull out more magnesium and other minerals. You go back in a month to see how you're doing, and sure enough, it's worse. And the nurse practitioner doctor says, see, we caught it just in time. Now you need 2 more drugs, a calcium channel blocker, which, yeah, that makes sense, but let's make it magnesium, which is a natural calcium channel blocker, and then an ACE inhibitor. 2 months later, you come back, and your blood pressure is even worse. And they do blood tests to make sure your liver isn't suffering. And lo and behold, your cholesterol is elevated and your blood sugar is elevated. And they thought, oh, well, now you got to go on a statin and a diabetic drug. And the reason why your blood sugar and cholesterol are elevated is because of magnesium deficiency. One of the signs in the medical text about diabetes is low magnesium. And the enzyme that either creates or blocks cholesterol, depending on what our body needs, that enzyme is directed by magnesium. So magnesium is actually a natural statin. So you've got the scenario there of millions of people who under stress have their blood pressure taken. It can be just plain white coat syndrome, and they're put on drugs, and the doctor will swear up and down, if you don't take this drug, you're going to get worse. You take the drug, yeah, you get worse, because that's all they see. They just see people getting worse and never realizing that it's the actual drugs they're giving that's causing the worsening.
Now, Maureen has a very important question. Can magnesium help with libido? And we all know what libido is now, don't we?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course it can. Definitely. It gives you energy. It relaxes you. People who are tense and stressed and aren't sleeping do not feel amorous. They just don't go together. So magnesium, just by those basic things, can help. But then in terms of making your estrogen, balancing that out, actually making testosterone. Magnesium does that. I have studies reporting that in my Magnesium Miracle book. So it absolutely can help on many, many levels.
Now, one thing it's coming to mind, I've done a lot of trade shows, peddling my wares and pitching my work and trying to convince people that, hey, come on, you need this. One thing I have noticed is that at any given health trade show, there's always a few people there that are showing some sort of magnesium. Not a whole host of different supplements and minerals, but specifically magnesium.
Yeah, it's pretty huge, and I really think part of it has to do with my book, Chris. I mean, I'll just do a little bit of bragging here because a lot of these magnesium company sites will show my book as evidence of the need for magnesium. It's one of the highly referenced magnesium books. I have 600 references. So anyway, yes, it's a big topic. It's a big nutrient. There are a lot of companies that have jumped on the bandwagon. There's dozens of magnesium products out there. And thank goodness they are out there because they're helping a lot of people. I think in my case, because I'm a medical doctor and a naturopath, I tend to attract very complex, very sick individuals. And although I'm not treating them medically, I understand where they're coming from, and I can keep on saying to them, no matter what level of health or illness you are at, magnesium is going to help you.
Everybody I bump into who's selling magnesium has a magnesium product. Everybody says, no, my magnesium is better. No, my magnesium is better. Is there any sort of magnesium? Is there anything people should stay away from?
Well, because I just talked about magnesium for like 15 years, magnesium, just take any type, every type of magnesium will be helpful to some extent. And what I was saying about complex chronically ill people, what they really do need is the non-laxative magnesium, which I created. It is the only product out there. And saturating yourself very gradually, very slowly, building up, getting that mineral into your cells, I think it makes it the best magnesium. But I don't think any of these magnesiums are going to harm you except the pharmaceutical magnesiums. You will see them they'll say it's a magnesium and they'll have twice as much calcium in it. Mm-hmm. They'll have binders and fillers and, all kinds of crap in there. So that's what I would stay away from.
Myself, I tried topical magnesium as a spray, and I got a lot of red on my body, and I thought, oh, this ain't so good. What I do is I work with ionic minerals. So any kind of mineral that I do, it's all an ionic, an angstrom form of a mineral. Those will absorb straight into your cells.
Yeah, exactly. I started with angstrom, Chris. That's exactly where I began my research. And the angstrom I used was 3,000 parts per million. And I needed to take like a couple ounces a day. And my magnesium is 60,000 parts per million instead of 3,000. So the 60,000 really does the job. And it means I only have to take a teaspoon a day. And what I've done with my Remag is make it into a stabilized ionic form. It's the ions of the minerals that get into the cells. That's why the channels are called mineral ion channels. And any mineral comes as a compound, like a magnesium chloride is what mine is initially. And any mineral in solution, like you say, ionic solution, will break down but then quickly join up together. The magnesium chloride will separate, but then and tiny infinitesimal amount of time later, they're joined up together. Well, what the REMAG does, it's been stabilized in the ionic form to allow for complete absorption into the cells. But I should say, we haven't gotten to this part, but it's not just about magnesium, and you have mentioned that. What I tell people first is to start getting hydrated with enough water and put in that water some sea salt. So my water guidelines are you take your body weight in pounds and you cut that in half and take that many ounces of water a day, and in every liter of water you drink, put a quarter teaspoon of sea salt. And you can start with a pinch and work up. But what that does is give you the 72 minerals that are in unrefined sea salt. And then to your drinking water, which has the sea salt in, you can add your REMAG liquid. And then I also have a stabilized ionic Remite multiple mineral. And that's what I think are the major building blocks of the whole structure and function of the whole body, is getting fully absorbed minerals.
We have a question. Can magnesium aid in anti-aging?
Absolutely. A lot of researchers now are talking about the calcification of the body is equivalent to aging. So we dissolve the calcium where, they're not going to, magnesium's not going to dissolve your bones. It's going to dissolve calcium in your arteries and in your pituitary, in your pineal, in your bladder. People who have depend on the adult diapers called the pens. They'll tell me that once they started saturating with magnesium, they didn't need their diapers anymore because their urethra was no longer calcified. Telomeres, there's this whole research about telomeres or telomeres and how they're trying to find drugs that will stop the telomeres from breaking off and causing early aging. And magnesium protects telomeres. So we've got so much research now showing that magnesium could be the answer to aging.
I guess weight loss too, you'd benefit. Basically, any kind of body function.
Right. Yes, Chris and Bob, what happens with weight gain is part of it is people eating food in order to feel satisfied. And the satisfaction can come when the body has enough nutrients and the body says, aha, okay, we've arrived, you can stop now. And if you're not getting nutrients, you just keep feeling hungry and wanting to fulfill that hunger. So you add on the calories, you're not getting the nutrients, and you don't feel sasatisfied.
You're just hungry, just like eating Chinese food. You're hungry an hour later. Right?
Yeah.
There's no nutrients in cat.
White rice. It's the white rice.
At the end of the day, it really comes down to education. And that's what wonderful people like you are doing, is helping to educate the public as to what they really need.
And like you said before, Chris, you've got all these supplements. You go to these websites, people, take this, take that. And people don't know what to take. They don't know how much to take. Well, I've been at this, believe it or not, for 50 years, reading health information and then going to medical school and then doing naturopathic. I was around before there were health food stores in my town in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And I watched the industry grow, and it's gone so synthetic. It's gone away from food-based nutrients and supplements. That's what it used to be. They used to extract nutrients from food. And then they say, we can make it from coal tar. We can make the chemical look like the vitamin, and then, we're good. But we're not. The body knows natural from synthetic, and it has to do with the chemical rotation of the actual formula. You've got a right rotating or left rotating. Mm-hmm. One is natural, one synthetic. The body knows. So yes, we've gone so far away from nature that we don't even know what the true building blocks are. And I am totally amazed. I'm doing a paper or blog right now on cystic fibrosis. A customer said that her 8-year-old daughter had been on my products for 2 months, and all her cystic fibrosis symptoms were resolving, excess mucus, coughing, lung infections, constipation, low energy. And it's just because she was missing her basic nutrients. And also in cystic fibrosis, all these kids and young adults are on antibiotics because they're constantly getting lung infections. Well, it turns out that the mucus that thickens is because of a protein that becomes deficient, and perhaps because there's not enough magnesium, but I'm still researching that. However, the enzyme in the body that breaks this mucus down and breaks down the bacteria is magnesium dependent. And there's papers that show that when you give a magnesium either in a nebulizer or orally, then the mucus breaks down faster just because the magnesium is added to what the body is already trying to do naturally. So it totally blows my mind when I can look at a fatal condition like cystic fibrosis and say, well, we can be of help with some of these symptoms. We're not curing the genetic disease, but, we can do a lot of good.
Just by adding the right nutrients. Was following Dr. Joel Wallach for quite a while. He is very, very big into the nutrient concept of things. Consider a supplement just like going to a doctor to get a pharmaceutical. You want to do it properly. You want to do it the right way. You don't want to be trying this, trying that, and doing more harm to your body. And Dr. Carolyn Dean can do that for you.
Well, I hear what you're saying, Chris, but, there's so few naturopaths and even fewer medical doctors who will be that basic about nutrients and know what they're talking about, because most naturopaths, half of their income comes from selling supplements. And I have naturopaths, who love my formulas and they want to sell them, but because I sell them online at the lowest cost I can and I don't wholesale them, they won't sell my supplements because they can't make any money from them. So it's a real concern about people who practitioners who are selling. So I know I'm selling supplements. It's just that I know mine work. But I think there are a lot of practitioners giving too many products, kind of like allopathic medicine. I call it green allopathy, where you're just substituting supplements for your drugs, and every symptom that comes up, you have a handful of supplements.
I started off in this industry, muscle testing, and what I saw was people muscle testing. Oh, you need this, and this.
Yeah.
End up spending $500 on the way out, and you're like, what the heck did I just buy? Am I going to take all this stuff? And then people don't end up not taking it because they're confused. One last question.
Yep.
Can it cause you not to lose your hair?
Well, I have people who are putting rubbing my Remag into their scalp and telling me that it's helpful to them. I really don't know. There are no studies about that. But, when hair is a balance of your hormones, testosterone, estrogen, etc., then I don't see why it can't help. But for hair, I go to thyroid, and I go to my multiple mineral, because 9 of the minerals in my Remite support thyroid hormone production. So instead of waiting for your thyroid to punk out and then taking thyroid hormone replacement therapy, you make your own thyroid hormone, and that helps your hair, skin, and nails.
And I say, what's wrong with losing your hair? That's what I say.
Oh, you are so funny.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, how can people get a hold of you, Dr. Carolyn?
Well, just go through my portal website, drcarolyndean.com. That'll lead you to an intermediary site that the FDA made me put up, and that goes on to another site with my radio show archives. My product site is rnareset.com. We never even got to my RNA drops, which is our Ascension drops, but maybe another time.
Possibly. Tonight our guest has been Dr. Carolyn Dean. Thank you so much, dear, for putting up with me and Bob. We want to have you again sometime soon, all right?
Yeah, thanks, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Many blessings to all. This is Chris. We are out of here.